All right, let's do a quick little sound check, see if you guys can hear me. And Ernest and Josh, you guys didn't get in the contest giveaway thing wasn't open yet. Will's like, don't tell them. When I typically, I typically show this. Vic, you're back, buddy. Vic, we were talking about you yesterday. I was like, yeah, Vic's not here. He's normally around. Saw that you weren't there. Noticed that you weren't there. Missed it last night. Angry Matt came in with like 15 minutes and literally stole it. He stole the pip chips. Ernest was slightly triggered. Just slightly. Some hot. As you guys know, I had a meeting with I forget what her title is. It was like a research analyst for Nadex. I don't know. Basically going through the platform, and it was kind of a pretty cool session. I got to see I guess 5 different iterations of the new platform and things that they would like and not like. And it's funny, we started off and she's like, hey, you can be brutally honest. It's totally okay. I didn't design the platform. I'm just the person asking questions about it. I was like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, it's totally fine. So I kind of gave my opinions on there. I just want to let you guys know that I put the pitch in there that we need profit targets. And she's like, well, what do you mean? Can you show me an example? And I put a little example together for her and was telling her about how, listen, if we want to, if this has a lot of movement and, we don't really have like a close all button, right? Like, pretty much all platforms have a close this position right now. If we got into it with a limit order, it may still be marked as limited as the markets are moving. We're trying to get out of it. We don't have a close all button and we hit it, another ticket pops up. The problem is if we have set a working order and all of a sudden we don't like what we're seeing and we want to get out of that position, we could do the hit the thing and close it down again, but then our working order still exists over there and it gets confusing, having to close down multiple positions. That there should at least be, there's an inherent stop loss already there. There should at least be some way that we can put a kind of a take profit order and have it linked, whether the other one has to be taken off if this one disappears, or just let us put a profit target in on the binary itself. She's like, oh, people don't hold it till expiration. I'm like, nah, not really. There are times to do that and times that there's not. But it'd be awesome if there was. And I showed her an example. She's like, oh, that is confusing. So we will see. And then I told her a couple other things as well, just about, opening it up and, the options chain on the left-hand side. Like all of them were open. I'm like, way too much. If I got to scroll down, it's going to be more of a pain. I need to go back and forth. When I click on one of the, one of the options, when I click the symbol, I want the chart to pop up because obviously the new platform is more chart focused than option chain focused. I think they're trying to incorporate it in, and it's basically the chart that they're using in there is like an IG light, is what I would say. And I told them, like, listen, you have the capability. It's the same chart, obviously. You have the same kind of, icons at the top to be able to do different things on the charts. I was like, but it's like a mini version. Like a big problem for me is you only have one chart as well. Like IG, and I showed her, I pulled up the IG platform, how I can pull multiple time frames up. And I said, I would love for it to have at least two. I mean, I could get away with it if it was two, so I could do a little bit of a, multiple time frame analysis. I'm like, three would be ideal, but here's my other problem. You have this, the orders and the positions at the bottom, but I can't shrink this. So, I mean, it's not like most traders have 30 positions on at one time. I'm like, so you have all this wasted space here on the right-hand side. It has kind of the same thing like IG does with that, that kind of side piece. But only the top, I don't know, maybe 15, 20% of it actually is where the order ticket is. The whole rest of it's all blank space. And I'm like, this is all wasted space over here. Nothing will ever be over here. That looks dumb. I don't know. Maybe they're leaving it there so they can put like, marketing things in there. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm like, it's just a big white space. It just, I want to be able to augment this. I'm like, and I told her about how the old tickets would pop up and we could have multiple tickets on different pairs ready to go at any time to get out. And we went through that. And again, I'm still not sold on the red and the blue. And I told her, I was like, listen, if you're red, blue colorblind, all you see is gray with these little white letters. I'm like, you're not going to really see a whole lot here. She's like, oh. She's like, well, does the flashing bug people? I'm like, on the options chains? No, nobody cares about the flashing. I was like, but the solid red and blue is kind of distracting. And then it was whether or not you like it on the right side or the left side. I actually told her I prefer it on the right side. And when you click different options change, I need the chart to refresh itself. Even though it's the same thing, it needs to refresh every time. So you have some type of visual notification that you've clicked on something else. Because if you just click things and the chart never changes, you may or may not know that you've switched it. I also showed an example where I was able to have the chart and the ticket up for the Aussie yen, but was actually on the I was inside of the options chain for the Aussie dollar. So it was kind of misleading. And she's like, oh, that's a good point too. I was like, yeah, for a new trade, I was like, the second you click on that asset, whether it's an options chain or not, the chart should pop up. Okay, you either need to go full chart or not charting. It can't be kind of an intermediary because all you're going to do is have a bunch of features that everybody's confused and it's just you're going backwards. So I mean, right now your platform is designed for entry and execution. You're trying to make it more of a charting platform while keeping all the other stuff, and it just doesn't work that way. It's one or the other. Pick which one you want to go to and do it. Um, they also do. It's interesting too. Like I said, I don't look at the touch brackets enough, but they did have, like how they had this like one click pricing up here on IG for currencies. They had that for the touch brackets as well. And I saw that up top, and I was like, huh, I've never seen that before. But then again, I wasn't really necessarily looking for it, so maybe it was there, maybe it's not. Yeah, and that's what I told her. I said the new one looks very two-dimensional. It literally looks like it is a, kind of a platform built for a phone. Where like the one now that it has tabs and things move around, it feels like it's more 3D to me with pop outs and things. It seemed like it was a very two-dimensional platform, and just like some of the menus, I'm like, listen, for me to click to another asset here, I have to click a back arrow instead of just clicking it. I'm like, why? I don't want to do the extra steps. So it was interesting. Definitely a beneficial meeting. And I told her, I was like, listen, I was like, if you guys, if this happens again, definitely let me know. I'd love to, do the follow up again and see, if I can help make it better. So, excuse me. So we'll see what happens of it. She said some of the things that I've talked about are actually in development. Don't have a timeline, of course. Things have been in development for a while. I will say though, on the one thing when I was checking the spreads out, all it listed was weekly spreads, and I was like, are you trying to tell me something? So we'll see what comes from all that. Anyway, looking into today, again, more or less a flat day. I don't think anybody had any surprise that the overall markets were going to go up today. I mean, after James posted it inside the forums of basically the U.S. and China saying that they're going to pull tariffs off at in phases. Well, no kidding. I mean, that's not a surprise, but again, it's everything's going according to schedule, right? I mean, if you didn't realize that the markets were going to end up today, I don't really know what you're doing. But yeah, and again, you've seen the currency pairs kind of react to it as well. Now, this morning we really didn't see much movement. Didn't get the plays that we thought we were going to potentially get. A bit of retracements back and forth. As far as kind of what we saw in the pound, I thought we'd get a bit more movement out of it. Like I said, it's actually kind of split, right? The pound dollar is down 33 in 24 hours, and the pound yen is up 22. So not like there's a lot there. And you can see the pound, the euro pound is up slightly. So, any of the news that came out really kind of just, kind of retraced itself. So not too much. I was expecting a bit more out of that. So I'm kind of a little bit let down. We didn't get more movement. That was my big hope for a big play today, but fortunately it didn't happen. And again, it's not always going to happen, but it is what it is. As you guys can see today, again, this was interesting. The forecast was 09 and we got a 27. So that is kind of interesting that you're starting to see some dissension in there. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Yeah, I'm curious to see, what's going on over there. Looking even the latest stories, you can see all there is obviously the monetary policy, and then we drop down into, this one. The U.S. is very, very optimistic about reaching a trade deal with China. Well, obviously, I don't think there was any question that they weren't going to do a trade deal. It was just how long it was going to take and when it was going to happen. So it's kind of funny when you see things like that. They're very optimistic. Like, okay, great. And then again, White House plans to roll back China tariff, faces fierce internal opposition. It's kind of like, I mean, if you're reaching a trade deal, you're obviously going to pull the tariffs off. I think both people are getting what they want out of it. And like I said, it's not really so much about the economy. It's more about, propping the market as high as it possibly can. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Anybody that believes different is kind of like, I don't know what you're thinking. And then the U.S. says phase one China deal would include a rollback in tariffs. Well, of course it would, So, I mean, it's, that's all we're going to hear about is tariffs, 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 tariffs. Okay. And then again, the attitude of China is two sides must remove the existing. Well, no kidding. Of course, everybody wants them removed. Okay. The big question is, will they make changes going forward? Not so much you know, the hitting back and forth, but we'll see how it goes. Okay. All right, going into tomorrow. Okay, we have one real big news release tomorrow morning. The CAD unemployment changes, basically the CAD's on non-farm payroll. Again, employment changes are expecting 14,000 job created. Again, very small number compared to the U.S. That's pretty common. It just, it is what it is. It happens. Obviously, not every country is as large as the United States. Unemployment rate, again, 5.5 is what the forecast is. They're expecting no change. And again, that 5.5 was actually much less than what the forecast was. It was supposed to be 5.7. So big drop. Now it'll be interesting to see what happens. One, it'll be interesting to see if we can hold a 5.5. And two, will there be any type of revision? Okay. If it holds at 5.5, but there is a revision that instead of being, basically, I mean, even if today comes in at 5.5, if the previous jumps to 5.6, that will change things around slightly. Not as much as if we change to a 5.6, but we'll see. So why are the yen pairs going yo-yo trace like a racetrack? Well, obviously, I mean, put it this way, okay? Some of that will have to do with the dollar, some of it will have to do with the yen, but a lot of it has to do with the indexes, okay? Remember, what's good for China is not necessarily what's good for Japan. So it's kind of a little bit added, a little bit different of an element in there that you have to watch out for. Yeah, I'm not surprised that they are, being a little bit yo-yo-y either. Okay. Yeah. All right, so that'll be CAD tomorrow. Again, we will look at the dollar CAD as well as the CAD yen for potential setups for today. All right, going into the scanner. So the scanner has a lot of different things showing right now. Okay, there's a lot of things that you'd be looking for right now. And again, some of it is good, some of it is not so good, but a lot of stuff to be looking at today. So if you are on scanner duty, you'd have a lot of stuff doing for overnights. Okay, and again, Thursday going into Friday, interesting time. That's fine. I'm okay with a lot of these because where they're setting up to. Looking at the majors in this first section, you'll see that CAD is sideways down confirmed all the way across the board. So again, there's definitely some setups in the near future in that one. Going to CAD news tomorrow morning, I'm all over that. I like that. I think that's great. And we'll see what type of opportunities presenting itself. Dollar yen, you can see that it's an uptrend setup. Again, uptrend on the two lower time frames. So that'll be a little bit interesting to look at. Dollar Swiss, you'll see over there, we have kind of what we have is like consolidation for lack of a better word. Again, uptrend confirmed. Again, it's going higher, but then on the lower time frames, you're seeing that we're starting to switch and go down. So obviously, it takes a little while for the larger time frames to catch up. That's kind of what we have going in. Again, euro dollar downtrend setup. Okay, and then again up, but again, that's not, they're consolidating. It's after hours, so not necessarily a surprise for the hour and the 4 hour. But the downtrend setup, again, you guys can see that we have it on euro as well as the pound. Okay, so that's a good telltale sign that there's something going on there. Again, obviously dollar based. And then Aussie dollar, same thing. It was an uptrend, but now it's an anchor break to the downside, meaning, again, dollar strength across the board. Okay, this is dollar strength. Okay, and again, the setup meaning it's pulling back, but again, it was driven down in the first place. So looking at the European basket, pretty consistent across the board, except the Euro Swiss. Everything is in a downtrend setup, meaning we're getting a bit of a pullback on the lower time frames, which we can see. But you can see everything is in a downtrend, right? Getting those lower lows. So we'll see what we have in a lot of these Euro pairs, where the placement is. Again, typically whenever you see a kind of telltale sign like this, I mean, obviously today we had the European monetary policy, but again, very interesting when you have this situation. A little bit different, obviously, we're looking in the pound basket, the one here in the middle. You can see pound CAD, pound US, pound Aussie, all downtrend setup, and you can see that confirmed on the lower time frame. So definitely something we got to look at for some of these pound pairs. You can see pound yen is in an uptrend setup. That one, again, I believe, again, this one is high in the curve. So even though it's an uptrend setup, may not be the best place to be going short. We'll check that one out on the charts. And then the other two, you guys can see are pretty consistent. Looking into the Aussie baskets, you can see we have an uptrend setup in most of the pairs, right? Except the New Zealand and the US. Both of these are uptrend with an anchor break, meaning that we've blown through the bottom. And again, you're seeing that kind of confirmation to the downside. If we get any type of pullback in either of those two, again, what that would do is that would give us a bit of a kind of an entry, right? And you can see the Aussie New Zealand just switched again, meaning the price went above the anchor. Okay, so it's down, it's low, but it's right next to the anchor. Okay, so we'll see if that's able to hold. We'll see if there's any areas to jump this one to the downside. All right. Looking in the CAD baskets, because again, those are going to be important tomorrow. Again, you'll see that the Aussie CAD, again, you may or may not want to look at all of these depending on if you're going to play it in Nadex. Obviously, a lot of the currency traders I know, they're not also trading Nadex. They do, they tend to stay with one thing. They'll be futures option, or I'm sorry, futures forex traders. But when you're a Nadex trader, again, it gives you the ability to kind of take advantage of some of the news. Some of these pair we don't necessarily look like pound CAD we don't typically look at. New Zealand CAD I don't look at. It's just the spread's too big for me. Aussie CAD even that's a bit high, and then CAD Swiss. So all these are pretty similar, right? Again, you're seeing a lot of downtrends in these when the CAD is in the second position. Obviously, except against the Aussie. Now the Aussie has had a bit of strength, as well as it just moved on me again, as well as this pair here. We're seeing the yen coming in with some strength and again, the yen strength is coming from the U.S. industry stock market. Okay, in this pair. All right, so like I said, a lot of stuff on the scanner to be focusing on right now. I did get a question too about what my scanner settings are for intraday trades, like during the day. This is my nighttime one. You guys can see here, it's labeled as chart school. So this is nighttime, overnight swing trading type stuff. During the day, what I'm doing for this one is I'm using a 3-hour, a 30-minute, and a 5-minute are the three that I'm using across. And again, I'm not taking trades off the 5-minute. I'm just curious to see for confirmations on here. Because again, when you look to see on the 5-minute what the pattern is, you can tell what's happening in the 30-minute and the 3-hour. Okay, so I'm using the 3-hour for trends, I'm using the 30-minute for levels, and I'm using the 5-minute here to kind of give me a shadow so I don't have to look at the actual chart, if that makes sense. Yeah, there are people out there not trading Nadex. You'd be surprised. Yeah, you only have time to trade so much stuff. Yeah, just some people that are not interested in getting into another market. They're keeping themselves busy. Again, if you're hitting your goals, you don't necessarily have to expand. It's always good to do that, but yeah, there are people that are entirely happy. Like I said, I know people that are doing nothing but futures, and they'll do some ETF options plays, and that's it. Remember, there's income accounts, there's wealth accounts, there's a lot of different ways to kind of put this back again. I am telling you, when one of you guys out there, Ernest, when you get that Nadex glitch, for your 25,000, your $25 position that becomes a 1.27 million, you need to open up the first Nadex funded accounts. And I think that's a great idea for you. And do the same thing. You can keep 20% of the profits. Nadex will be happy because they get their dollar on each side. Charge a combine fee. I'll give you some pointers about that. How to make yours a little bit different. And you're good to go. If you were a longer term swing trader, would you be comfortable with just using the daily signals option on the scanner? What I would do is I would use weekly daily at that point. I'd use weekly daily 4-hour for longer swing positions. I wouldn't just use the dailies. I'd want to know the weekly and the relationship back to the dailies. Okay. All right, so again, make sure you're putting this work in, looking at this, okay? Whether or not you're using it for alerts or what it is, have it up there and make sure you're going in there. And again, don't look at just the ones. Again, there's a lot of things up here right now with squares on it. A lot of setups that you guys could be looking at, right? Especially if you're like specializing in a pair. If you're trading at night and you want to specialize in the Aussie, well, look at that. You got 4 pairs right now that are giving you signals, as far as the daily goes, okay? All right, let's go into charts. Okay, first, how deeply it went. Now, you may or may not have gotten stopped out in this position. As you can see, here's the 19 candle. And we talked about, here's the 19 last night. It was pushing all the way down. And again, it went right into an area where we would expect it to, right? Kind of came down. This is a nice little pullback and explosion out the top. And again, that's where it went. It turned and went all the way back up, grabbed some more orders, and then started to push back down again. And we're kind of in that drop right now, right? Yesterday, the profit targets, we hit 2 of them. We got a little bit lower, and again, got stuck in this basing area. We didn't quite make it to number 3, and again, that's not going to happen. Had you been running this down, you would have definitely been out of this one, pretty much at target number 2. So even if you had a third of your position to take off, you would have got out at the same exact spot right before it actually kind of popped up. But either way, it retraced all the way back up again. It actually drove pretty deep into the zone. It kind of went sideways and gave you the opportunity. Again, it was a very small opportunity to get back in on this spike. If you guys see this one, again, marking off this zone, saying, okay, we had basing right here, right? There's the basing level. And you guys can see it came right back up in time for news, right? Right here at 7. And then boom, collapsed back down again. And right now, we are sitting in that area of basing. Okay? So again, not surprised it went to this area. Again, not surprised with this basing level. Now, This is a little bit harder of a one because you may have wanted to take the draw based off that candle. And in that case, you would probably not have gotten your entry on this one. But there's nothing else you can do on that one. Like I said, I was including the wick here at the bottom because, again, it's not a very big zone. Okay, you're talking about, not including that wick, you're talking about 8 pips. So if you include that in there, right, if we take it from the bottom to the top, you're talking about 9.5. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I could get super conservative, but sometimes when you get over conservative, you're going to end up missing your entries, right? So if we take this down to there, you're talking about an 11 pip risk. Okay, it gives you a little bit of buffer, and again, again gives you the buffer out the top side, right? So not a bad position. Okay, the result in the opposite direction. Okay, all the way back down to the start of this move in the blue. You guys can see right here, it's at 43. So is it over 3-to-1 risk to reward ratio? Yes. Okay. I'm really going to start harping more on this 3-to-1 risk to reward ratio, and the reason why is because I found another method that I think I'm going to put inside of the Funded Trader program. So one of the questions Ryan had for me, and I was talking to him about it, and he's been in the funded, he's like super, super close to finishing it out, was what he was using for position sizing. So obviously when you're using your money, you obviously want to risk low. You typically don't want to use any more than, 2%, right, per trade. Some people will say I use a 0.5%. A lot of that goes back to how big your account actually is, right? Whether you're going to use 1, 2, half, whatever it is. I mean, I know currency traders that use 5. Unfortunately, one of the things about funded trading accounts is you have down draw limits, right? That's what can get you kicked out, is if you miss those limits. And different funded programs have different amounts. Well, I've actually found somebody that has been pretty successful in passing funded trading accounts, and they have a little bit different of a money management system. Okay, now, is it what you would do in your regular account? Probably not, because your regular account doesn't necessarily have a kind of a duration attached to it, as well as a fixed down draw. Okay, because the combines and things like that, I mean, other people call it different things. There's proof sessions or whatever, but because they have a fixed time, he has a kind of a different set of guidelines, and I actually really like it. So have not personally tested. I'm kind of going through it right now. And I'm probably going to test it live just to make sure that it works. But as much as I've looked through it, I think it's a very sound concept, and I think it's very beneficial, and I think it could definitely make it easier for you guys to get funded by following the system. It's mechanical; it takes a lot of things out, but it definitely, without a doubt, focuses on 3-to-1 risk, or reward to risk ratios. Okay, risking that 11 pips here for at least 33 in the other direction. In this case, if you can get extra 10 pips out of it, hallelujah, great. It's just money in the bank. It'll get you there even faster, but it's really focusing back on that 3-to-1. And so again, you'll see me starting to really focus and kind of draw a lot more of these out when we're talking about these positions. All right. The other nice thing about it too is it's really it's dialed down into finding like one trade a day, like this. It's very statistically based, and it focuses on one trade a day. Now we can make it 2. You can try to make it 1.5. But it's a very simple spreadsheet that lays it out that I think will keep you guys kind of, on the straight and narrow as far as how to get funded. Like I said, stumbled upon it. I'm going to make a couple of adaptations to it, and then release it. And I'll probably try to use it with Ryan first, since he's so close and fresh in his mind. Because not everybody's like Carl. Carl completes the combine in 2 days and he's done. But not everybody is like him. So I want to make sure that I can make this as easy as as possible. And the more funded trading accounts you guys have, the better. Okay. I am totally for as many people as as many people out there that want them, take them. Right. So that's where we're sitting right now. Would I get in this position? No, we're sitting in an area of buyers and not really going to go farther. You would have just cashed yourself out of it for 4-to-1. So happy with that. Overall, though, I would say that I'm still short this position. I think this will probably try to run back into this 74.60. I talked about that earlier in the week. That's kind of the bottom side of this channel. And again, price did spike up. It did turn. But again, it looks like it's got some pretty nice momentum. It hasn't had a whole lot of stopping or basing or anything on the way down. So, it's going to definitely need an area to pull back into. But, I mean, this may be it. This may be where it's going to kind of go sideways for a little bit before it makes that another push back down again. And you can see we're in a racetrack on the 30-minute. So, racetrack on the 4-hour, racetrack on the 30-minute. Nice little drop there, right? So looking at the Aussie New Zealand, Aussie New Zealand is that one that keeps bouncing back and forth, right? It's given us kind of I think it's the weird signal that we were getting before. So where are we? Very, very high in the curve. So we had this kind of first one, right? This little area that we had talked about. And then the big question was, were we going to break through the top? Okay, now This is an interesting one, and the question was, would this have been a momentum breakout trade, right? I mean, we have some space in here, and it's a very interesting call because, again, did it pop out? Sure. On the 4 hour, did we get any weight space? No, it literally just spiked up and came back down again. But you got to look at the timing of this. So this started about 9:30 this morning, and this thing literally went straight up. But I guess it did base a little bit here, right? And then pop, and then came back down in the top of this zone. So question is, how much is really left in this zone? And where was our zone wrong? Should we have put our zone higher? I mean, it respected the top side, and that's what we got to go back to, right? Is the look, why did this thing blow at the top and then turn around? What about the upper area? And again, we can't see it here, so it's going to be purely on the daily. And you guys can see here what we were dealing with. We took it purely off of this move here. But what do we have above it? We also had descending wicks to the downside. So maybe, again, was it a bad place to put it? Not necessarily, although it did spend a little bit of time there. But could we have been more conservative taking the level on top of this level? Answer is probably. Okay, again, we may have just gotten a bit too aggressive. And again, that's going to happen. We could have used, this zone right here, right? That could have been the zone that we had done, right? Those two solids. And again, price did move into there. That was the level on top of this level. So again, more conservative entry. Now, what would that have done? Well, look what it did. Okay. So sometimes we can be a bit overly aggressive. And in this case, that's what it is. We chose the first one. We got the confirmation that it was turning and kind of spiking back down again. All it did was it was spiking back down to grab some more orders in here and make another push up. And you guys can see it literally dinged right off the upper zone. So yeah, it happens. Nobody's perfect. Again, that's, somebody held for that, I'm sure, and other people didn't. It is what it is. If you lost, it was not a huge area. All right. And what have we done since that time? We've pulled back to the start of the move, right? The origin down here. You guys can see the basing here as well. I'm curious to see whether or not we can hold here or if we will start to push to the downside. As you can see on the daily, we had 2 strong days up, followed by kind of a little candle of indecision. And again, this kind of spike up, grabbed an area, and kind of turn and flip back to the downside. So besides the basing here, I mean, there'll be a little speed bump down here about 107.73, and then I think we're clear probably down to 107.18. So I definitely think, again, any type of Australian weakness in this one, I think this could definitely be moving back to the downside next week. I don't know how much more movement it's going to have overnight tonight, but I feel like next week this could be, something that we're taking, looking for a little bit longer term basis to the downside. Okay, looking at, excuse me, the Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar is kind of all over the place. All right, so as you can see, here's the 19 candle here. And going back, the other 19 candle was right here. Okay, so we had pushed back down into the zone, and we'd mentioned this yesterday. We were in an area basing. We saw this push down, and typically when we see this, it's clearing a lot of orders for us. But this one has really, really had a very difficult time going through. Now, what we were doing is we were looking to see how well this zone would hold, right? This is a zone actually not formed on this side, but it's behind the wall, right? And this is what this kind of, it was basically the bottom side of the top and the bottom of this kind of channel, right? And you can see it hit here and it hit here, and it kind of went over here again before finally bursting. But it didn't really quite go, it didn't go that far. We didn't actually get any white space off the bottom of this. It was literally one candle down and one candle back up. And all it did was pull kind of sideways again to the top side of this near established channel. So even on the lower, if we extend this across, so check this out. Okay. I was looking and thinking, do we have any white space? We've really got such a small amount, we can't even draw the triangle here, right? It's not even really enough to say that have we truly left the area? Has it cleared it? The answer is no, and it kind of came across, shot right back up into this zone where we said, hey, if we get back up to here, that could be a potential short, and it did. I mean, it based, kind of came up, and then just, again, more or less went sideways. It went higher, went lower, went higher, went lower, just started to really get choppy. So interesting. I would not have said, hey, there's a great area there. Again, again, it's the start of the move. It's the wick over here. You guys can see based off the top of this level. Again, so it is something on the daily, but on the lower time frames, not necessarily the best. I think this is one of those ones today. I did not trade this one. Had I traded this one, I probably would have taken a loss on this one. This one was a little bit trickier to trade today if anybody got into it. The movement was just not, movement was only about 30 pips top to bottom. Wasn't really any of the best areas that we had in there. Okay, and again, it was pulling off the base over here, not this one. Okay, so it was this base here that kind of turned it to the downside. All right, looking at pound Aussie. So pound Aussie is considered a downtrend setup. Okay, And again, it's because of, basically the red. I'm close for an anchor break there, so I don't know about that one. I think this one is kind of confused. I think the gap has screwed this one up. Um, um, Looking at this one again, what I mentioned last night was this spacing area right here. Okay, this demand zone. Very curious to see what it was able to do. And it went low. It didn't actually make it all the way through. It just made it to the bottom of the body. So not a bad place. And you can see on the 30-minute here, it's been down here a few times, right? It came down, pulled up, grabbed more orders, pushed down again, went slightly lower, got pushed all the way back up again, and we're sitting back there again. So it's definitely an area where buyers have been supporting it and kind of coming back in again. Obviously, we have some sellers established right around this 186.17. So again, kind of a short term or like a small time frame, kind of minor channel to the side. Um, it's unfortunately, again, we can't get into any short positions in this one because we're sitting in a demand zone on the daily. Again, we know there's buyers there, so any short that we take, it's kind of like, you're trying to step in front of that train and say, okay, is this the one that's going to break? Is this the one that's going to break? Technically speaking, it has been down here 3 times, but you're starting to put in higher lows. So it's kind of one of those things that if we get a flip, is it going to go through? Maybe. And looking at the total range that we're, looking here, I mean, we're talking about 65 pips back to the downside. But unfortunately, look at this area. There's not really like a super clean, like, is this going to be good? Is it going to hold off these two standard wicks here? Or is it going to go higher? Is it going to go up here? A lot of questions on this one, okay? And again, this one has a 6-7 pip spread on it as well. So going into a Friday with no news, I don't know if this is the best opportunity. I'm rooting for this one to go down. I would like for it to just break through the bottom side or be at least deep inside the zone. If we can make this travel back down again and be in this bottom level, I'll probably be looking to go long on Sunday. Just closing the week inside of a demand zone, even if it's on a smaller time frame, not normally a bad place to do it, right? If you're going to, strike in the right areas, that could be a nice little piece. Above and beyond that, I want to make sure that we end in a trend and not something like this because I want to be able to trade in that gap. Okay, got to start thinking about that. Looking at euro pound. So euro pound is, what do we got here? 6 picks different, right? Not a whole lot. We had this one spike up, right? 7 o'clock this morning, we went up and we went back down again. And this was that news from today, right? 7 o'clock in the morning, if you guys see it here, right? That was all at 7 o'clock a.m. So that's where the only kind of bit of this move came in at. And if you see it, what did it do? It went up, grabbed the top of this level, and turned and came back down again. Literally, it was a spike up 45 and then spike back down 45. And we've moved 13 pips from where we were last night total. So not much. Did anything change? No, it was pure, volatility based off what we saw here. Again, it was weakness and then strength right behind it and retracing. Not much to say about this one, okay? Again, we've had this slight grind off this lower area. And when I say slight grind, has it been moving up? Sure, it has. But look at any of these bodies. None of these bodies are huge. I mean, it's all wicks basically just going a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher. And then, again, spike up and down again. What happened in that 4 hours? Nothing. It started the 4 hours here and ended the 4 hours here as one bit of movement up and down had you been able to catch it. And again, this was 140 pips is kind of small, but again, you could have taken this one inside of like a 2-hour binary just because, again, being in such a small time frame, you could get a bit of a retrace back again. The trend hadn't really changed, and again, we were up in an area here where we talked about last night, would we have the ability to break through? And we did by like 6 pips. Came out the top and then slam right back down again to where the start of the move was. So nothing's changed. It's still 0.75. Still no trend. The one nice thing is that we have 2 greens in a row, meaning that we have, obviously, the action candles are formed. The anchor is outside the prior color, which is nice. But can you really say that it's an uptrend or a downtrend? No, because it's just way too flat. It's not really, it's not really high or low. You're not running into things either way. It's still really condensed inside of, like, this red candle here is still condensed inside of this green. So just sideways. Like I said, you can grab these smaller time moves, but besides that, there's nothing really exciting or really tradable in this pair. Okay. Looking at euro again. Okay. So, oops, there we go. So, Again, we talked about getting down here to see if we could clear some area. We got a little tiny bit of white space in here, but again, not much at all. Did it really clear, at least on a 4 hour? No. I mean, it was literally down to where we had you guys see the gold line? The gold line was our alert to say, okay, if we get to here, we'd like it to be at least half, but it's got to clear. Well, the alert went off and it went like one more pip past the alert. So it didn't really quite get as far as we wanted to before it retraced all the way back up again. And again, this one is based off the same move. Okay. You guys can see here, this one is actually, 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock is right here. So this is the London Open. We rallied all the way back up. And then it's consolidated since that time. We're talking about getting stuck inside of about a 30 pip window here. But again, did it leave the area? No, it just hit the very, very bottom side, this little wick over here. And that's what it grabbed to shoot back up again. So still valid. Again, we still got to break that zone. We can continue the zone across and see it if we need to. Again, has there been any trade in here for a retracement? Not really. I mean, even the lower, I think. Let's see. Yeah, the only one you could have potentially taken was here. Okay, not even the best one. Yeah, 20, it's too much. Nothing even really great on this one. Like I said, the only thing was this little pop. We were looking for really a big, nice little separation down here and didn't even get it. And, we got a little bit. Didn't get that easy retrace. Yeah, just nothing. Not quite there. And again, most of that. Nothing. Fast. Okay. Now, one thing I will say about this one, and I do kind of like this, okay? And again, this is probably not going to be a this week thing, but I do like how the candles are all coming down, okay? Creating this kind of like shelf here with lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. Again, that signifies that we have sellers up here. So if we can get price to retrace back down into this level, I don't think we'll be able to do it tomorrow. Maybe, but I don't think it'll be a big piece. We know that if we come back up into this zone up here, up in this 120.80 to 121, it'll be an area where we have sellers. Okay, we've seen that. We've seen this established in the candles now. Maybe a nice little area next week. And again, maybe take a binary off that if we get any type of news spikes next week on that one. Okay. Looking at Euro Aussie. T is like right at that like limit to where it's like it's almost too hot, but it's not too hot. So this is another one. We never got the clearance. Right? You guys see this on the 4 hour? Literally one candle and we immediately snap right back again. So again, we did not get any type of clearance on this one. And what did it do? It's still flirting in the same area, right? It's created a channel sideways. Went slightly lower, then came right back up to where the previous kind of bumps out the top side were, and then pushed down and has really just gotten flat. So a little bit of movement. Again, the movement went right up into these two. Okay, so again, if you were looking to trade something on this one earlier today, this spike occurred about 5 o'clock this morning. 5, 6 o'clock, I guess, is when you went in. Its total movement was about 50 pips, but had you established a small channel on this one, you would have been looking for most likely a channel up in there. Again, 5 pips, maybe take a little bit more off of that one. Maybe, let's see. I guess you could have done it probably there. There's a snap. Yeah, so small 5 pip zone at about 5 o'clock this morning. It rallied up. Again, it already shown you one time. Again, you could have taken that to the downside. Something small. I wasn't awake for this one, so I didn't get into this one. Excuse me. But you definitely could have done that one, right? Had you been awake for it. Would I still hold this one for a momentum breakout? Probably not. I mean, like I said, we got lower. We didn't really get true clearance. I mean, again, it literally came up and then just went straight back again with a little bit of basing. And again, this was middle of the night, so I don't really count this as a clean break of it. Again, it's down up in one candle. Where we're kind of worrying about right now to the downside is this level of basing, okay, on the daily. You guys see this level right here? Okay, if you take the top wick in that kind of behind there, you can see what we bounced off of. So we're bouncing off of this level of basing. This was a pretty legitimate base too, right? Up, 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 3 nice, and then explosion, explosion, explosion. So definitely some buyers in this zone, okay? I'd like to say that I would love to be, continue being bearish for it, but I'm just afraid of any position that I put on right now in this to the bearish side. I think we're going to run into buyers here, and I think it's going to be an issue. And you guys can see even down here on the 30-minute. I mean, we're establishing these are mirror wicks, so I'm not as worried about it. But again, higher one here. I like that. I like this. I like this. I like this. So these wicks down, getting higher and higher and higher, show me that there's buyers stepping into this area. So kind of hesitant to go short this one. I think what I'll probably be doing instead is really start marking this one off for next week and then into the future. And again, maybe start setting some alerts on this one. This is a pretty easy base, right? We had a nice drop sideways and a very explosive movement out, so that'd be something I definitely want to mark off. The top of this is also pretty clean, so I may want to mark that off for the future as well. And again, not like I think this is going to spike up, 100 and basically 100 pips in one day for anything tomorrow. But those 4 hour zones are going to last into next week. Okay. If we get any type of bounce back, and again, we are in a downtrend, if we get a pop on that side, we'd be looking to reverse this next week. Okay. And here, let me give an example of how this could happen. We continue to push down, and all of a sudden we get a gap over here. Say let's just pretend that this is our Friday candle, right? And all of a sudden, price gaps, and it's sitting right here, right? Well, if price is there where it gaps to, then we'll be looking to take a long position off of here and where your targets. And again, why would that happen? Why would the price suddenly have a weird gap like that? Well, what happens if we get a tweet tomorrow or Saturday morning that says, Trump and China can't agree on the schedule or something negative with the trade war? Would that affect this and give us dollar weakness again? What do you guys think? Of course, right? It would give us that dollar weakness. So that would not only give us a spike, but then give us an area to retrace and then come back up, and then these zones become targets. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm wondering if this is going to be the play. I don't know how much lower it's going to go. Again, that's going to be dollar strength, but I can tell you what's going to happen if any of the trade talks start falling through the floor. Right? It's going to be instant dollar weakness on this one. Okay, so again, that's just what I'm thinking on this. Um, yeah, that's probably all. I think if there's anything else I'd pull on that one to the downside. No, I think I'm really looking just for somewhat of a retracement at this point on this. All right, you're Aussie. So kind of a hard situation. Obviously, very, very low on the curve. This one, again, let's pull back right now. Okay, again, you could say that yes, we are inside of a downtrend, and we do have a downtrend setup. We should be looking for areas. Well, we are somewhat in an area right now, but if you look below, kind of what we're running into. Again, we had this green dotted line again. We're running into this. Let me take some of these off to clean this up a little bit. Okay. Looking back, you guys can see what we spiked down into today. Okay, did we hit it? No. Did we get super, super close? Yes. Could we have got front run it? Absolutely. And that's kind of what's given us the pullback. So again, it's one of those situations where we do have a downtrend setup, but it's a downtrend setup into an area of buyers, which again is a no-no. We saw that on the dollar CAD before. Great trade setup, great level that it pulled back into, but what was it doing? It was going into an area of buyers, and what have we seen that pair do since? It's just really gone straight up. So, you know, kind of the same situation what we're seeing here. Okay, now again, I know it. Like I said, I know it missed, but again, daily zone that we're kind of going off of, went through here, but again, it's holding firm. So, with that being said, not sure if I would take it or not. Let's see. How much risk we got in this one? It's 22 from the. Let's see, what do we have? It is right there. Move straight up from where we are right now. Again, focusing on having at least a 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio. Again, we're going to move to the start of the move. We're kind of right in that wheelhouse right now. Okay, it's basically right here. Again, it's a little tiny bit off, but it's close enough that we can round it. As long as we don't have any type of basing like up in this area, if we come up and I don't know, I mean, if we just have a bunch of green bars come up here, 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 and it comes all the way up. Okay, we have like one of these, something like that. Definitely, I'd be looking for a short in that. Again, I don't think it's going to do it with one bar. I think it's going to take multiple bars, but just kind of what I'm thinking if we can get up. And again, first profit target would be here. Bottom. First profit target would be in this area, right? And then second profit target I'd put down here, as allows you to. And again, you're looking to take 43 on the first one, 89 on the second one with about 15 pip risk. Okay. And again, that's okay. It's not all the way to the bottom. I know it's bouncing off of. It's a shorter term position. It's definitely not anything I'm doing on these bottom two. Like I said, if this pulls up, I'm not going to be looking to have targets on the other side of these two blue lines. But as long as we're within this kind of bid in here, again, that's kind of what we've seen is the back and forth kind of popping. There's two profit targets that you could potentially take on that. All right. Let's look at the pound yen. So obviously, again, this is similar to what the other, the euro pound was as well. We're still kind of stuck at the top. I've not gotten a ton. Like I said, we hit that, and that first kind of supply zone up top has gotten hit, but we really haven't left the area at all. And this is, I mean, again, it looks great down here. Like, woo, look at this. And again, not too horrible, right? I mean, it was what, 80 pips? Yeah, 80 pips up. 80, 60 back down again, 50 back up again, 40 over, and then kind of over here. But obviously not a whole lot of not a movement. Again, same kind of channel. And again, this started same thing. This was actually this one started a little bit early at 2 o'clock. And again, yen news. And again, this big spike here was 7, or back down to here to 7 here, and then we went back up again, and it just got smaller. So definitely a whipsawing back and forth. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to only take this one on smaller positions because you guys look at here, no trend here, not really a lot of trend here. I mean, even if I spread it out, again, more or less inside of a channel from this top section here to this bottom section down here, right? And again, it's higher high, higher high. This is a little bit lower, but again, higher than the base here. Same thing, lower, 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 and then has stabilized on the top side. So obviously consolidating between 140.50 and really 130.50. So about 100 pips top to bottom. And again, if I'm just going to draw that looking it out right here, I mean, on the easy side, you could say, yeah, we're probably, this is, oops, hold on, let me delete that. Right. This is having issues right now. Top side, and say that like, here. Kind of a rock and a hard place if we're gonna, kind of go back and forth between the two. Without any pound news tomorrow, though, I do think this one will probably slow down. Um, I don't think there will be any more good trade talk. I think they've gotten the data out now. As I said last night, we were due for a tweet or some type of agreement or some type of next step, and I think we've gotten that next step now. So there's not, I don't think anything else additional will go into the weekend. So if anything, I can see a little bit of a retracing tomorrow, which again in turn will slow this one down and kind of suck some of the wind out of the sails on this one. So don't know that we'll have any tradable opportunities in this one. Obviously, overall, still bearish on this one, but again, it's going to have to be a longer term position, which we really don't have access to at this point. Hopefully, we can get some type of a trend tomorrow. I'd be happy if it was to the downside. If we could end down in this area, then at least we would have some opportunity on Sunday night. Let me see real quick. What do we got next week? Yeah, Monday at 4:30 a.m. the pound has preliminary GDP. That could be something that again we look to trade on Sunday night. Get into that one. Um, Here, I'll drag that in for you guys. You guys see this one on Monday, on the 11th. So this could be something that's a mover on Monday morning for this pair. Okay, that may give us just enough catalyst to kind of kickstart something, right? So we'll see. Looking at pound dollar. By the way, comment about how I got I got one of my students that, she asked, do people trade everything, or do people tend to have their favorites, right? So Joel basically wanted like a custom watch list, like he wanted like your own kind of bookmark type thing, and she thought that was a good idea. And then she's like, "Well, do people trade everything, or do they just pick a few things?" I was like, "No, I got guys that pick things. I was like, the futures people will trade this and this, and I got one guy. He's like really, really big into oil. He trades a lot of different, he'll trade multiple positions on oil all at the same time." Um, I was like, one of my students, James, and she's like, James, oh yeah. So I don't know. You're on Natex's radar now, so you better be careful. They know you by name now. Um, okay, again, last night we talked about this one about what the reaction was going to be off this lower kind of basing level. You guys can see it came down and it just stopped. It's been about 12 hours here now. Again, this one spike down came in at that 7 o'clock number today. It did pull up beforehand, at the early hours, and then it just collapsed right back down. And then really, once it stabilized by 9 a.m., it hasn't moved since that time. Been in a very, very, very tiny, narrow range, which not necessarily surprised, right? Um, I'm still watching for the kind of the buyers in here. Like I said, you don't really see it on the 4 hour. You can see it on the daily, but we need to clear this area. At this point, I would almost like to have dollar weakness step into the market. I would like this to trace back up again, up into this 129.70-ish range, this purple area. I would like to use this as an area to go short. I don't think we can do it tomorrow, but here's the hoping that we can, right? If we can get into that area, we are within technically we were in striking distance. Let me see here. Hold on. Yeah, it's about 145. So if we're up tomorrow, if we have dollar weakness and this thing ends up here around the 129, or closer to 129 than we are right now, maybe we can move 50 pips in the next, from now till when the market closes. If we can get any type of a gap or any type of push into that area, definitely be looking to take a short off of that one. I think that would be a great area to short off of if we can get some dollar weakness. How I see this, I don't see necessarily Brexit news affecting this, but if we can get enough technical data to push this up, next week I'm sure there'll be some more information about the timeline or any type of official agreement, again, which would give, more dollar strength. And that, again, I'd much rather be selling this at the top and not halfway through. Okay. So again, here, and then I want to get short this next week. And again, this is one of the touch bracket pairs. So we could potentially take a touch bracket short off of this one next week, to the downside. Okay. Pound New Zealand. Okay. And then this. Not much. Same thing. Rock and a hard place channel. Again, buyers below, sellers above. Um, Ideally, I'd like to go higher. Be looking for a gap. You guys can see here was the gap from this weekend. This weekend, right? All we can ask for. Okay. And again, that was more or less in the downtrend. So tomorrow we continue to push down, so we can do that again next week. All right. Got there. Um, Really just retracing back up again. So we're kind of stuck in this range. Let's see. Got top to bottom here. Yeah, we're only within a 29 pip range, so not really anything. It's not worth trading at this point. Again, it's really got to break this top, which again, here's your high, here's a low, here's a low, here's a low. So again, great wicks getting lower and lower and lower. Looking at the bottom, I think we have more of a chance to kind of flip and turn to the downside, but not a bad area, right? I mean, on the daily, you guys can see down here, there's 3 wicks at the bottom. Again, leading into a racetrack, nice pop off of it, and that's where we're sitting in. So it's going to have to clear this bottom area, be able to break down below 63.40, or it's going to end up having to break these 3 wicks and break above 63.90 to the top side. Then I'd be willing to go long or short in this position. But right now, it's just too consolidated going into a Friday. If a Thursday with a little tiny bit of news only moved 30 pips top to bottom, going into Friday when, again, their market only has a few hours left, probably not going to necessarily be worth it. And again, I don't expect there to be much news tomorrow from the U.S. Like I said, I think they delivered the news. The market ended up high with a lack of news tomorrow. all there is consumer confidence, which is only a medium quality release. I don't know that I don't think it's gonna be earth shattering. Gotta go dark now. I ruined it for you, James. I was like, yeah, I got this guy. His name is James. Yeah. And he's got not one, but he's got two inside guys. All right, so you guys can see where this one popped. All right. We talked about the zone on the top side being a potential area if we got higher. As you guys can see, this one actually pretty closely, right? We went up, we touched it right at the 99.76, and we got a red, green, red, and the confirmation entry actually hit right where the green dot was, right to the top side. It has pulled back now, and it has kind of sat on that zone. So again, up, down, and then it has just stopped. Okay, as you guys can see, here's the what is it, 2130, and then going back, you guys can see the, what is it, 2130 is right here. So again, did break through, came up, grabbed the level, and again, this is why patience is sometimes worth it if you were able to get into this one off of that upper level. And again, I believe that was this one. No, I feel like it was this one. Yeah, it's this basing level over here. Jason Bourne. Yeah. Well, she's funny. She's the lady I talked to. She's from London, but she lives in London, but I guess her unit or whatever is in Australia. And then I wasn't the only educator she talked to. There was other I think one other educator she talked to. She's like, but I'm talking to people in the US. So we did it at 4 o'clock my time, which was 8 o'clock in the morning her time. I know a guy that knows two guys. Very interesting. If I ever have to have an inside guy, I see how well James does with two guys. I'm getting a third guy. I'm getting three. Yeah, unless you have three guys, it's not good. All right, so as far as this position, again, not a whole lot in this. Not doing too much. If anything, it'll retrace back down into this area. What is it? A guy that knows two guys. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Dollar CAD. So, dollar CAD. We got big news tomorrow morning. So let's check this pair out. Told you guys to, have that patience, see if we can get there. Well, the patience got so close, right? Here is our 19. Going back, there is our 19 right there. We got so close, right? Here we are right now at 2130, and when we go back, you guys can see 2130 is right here. Right here. Right? Like, we're so close. So close. I just said you guys potentially take it if you guys wanted with some type of Nadex binary. A lot of the movement on this one came in at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So it was like super early in the morning that the movement actually came through. It only ended up dropping 2 strikes, so it only moved about 40 pips down. It did bounce off the very, very bottom of where we were looking for the target to be. We talked about this one being a 4-to-1 risk-to-reward ratio, but probably didn't get entered if you were entering this one in spot currency. So close, yet so far away, right? And again, drawing that one down, talking about coming back down to this level here. We couldn't have drawn that one better. I mean, it literally came to the very, very bottom, right? But you would have just missed this one by, what did it say? The high is 31.97.8. Yeah, so by like 3 pips. And it's been a lot of time there too. It's like, let's see if I don't think you looked at it earlier. Yeah, you guys can see. Like, look at this. It's like, oh, it's so close in here, and then it failed to go higher. Yeah, so we missed it by like 2.5 pips. So it was right there, and it went all the way to the profit target, but it didn't trigger for me. Maybe it did for you guys on a different platform, but it didn't trigger for me. Anyway, so that's what we're looking for right now. So what it does show me, though, is it does show me that this zone is still valid on the top side. So I don't know that it'll happen. Hopefully overnight we can get some type of a pushback again. We'll see what the news is able to give us. It is a little bit close right now for kind of a surprise news spike. Being so close, you got to be a little bit cautious of it, right? Because it missed right there. It's like, if you're 40, 50 pips away, that's a good spike for news to retrace. But right now we're only, about 20 pips away. So it's kind of like a maybe not. I feel like it would spike a little bit above, but I have a feeling that, again, we took this mini level. I'm afraid it's going to go a little bit higher and then turn on us. But again, still valid. If we get a spike up in this one, not a bad area. Now, To the downside, that's a little bit different of a story. If we get some type of a spike to this level, this is about 50 pips away. Okay, so one level that I would be looking for down here is if we spike into this range with news, which is from 131.35 over across to 131.17. That could be an area where if we have, one of these things where, price goes boop right down with news, you could potentially play a retrace on, 2 hour or something on one of the smaller time frames tomorrow. Something like this where it's like boop boop, where it's really quick. It's probably the best we're going to get with that one. Now, if overnight, if this does, drop and end up somewhere over here in the middle before news, that'll give us a top channel and a bottom channel. But I don't necessarily like this top channel because we're so close to it already. Oh, excuse me, if that makes sense. Overall bearish, but again, if we're going to play the news spike, we got to make sure that we go higher before we go lower. So that's one potential play we can do tomorrow. And vice versa, downside, again, take the binary. Probably it for this one. Let's look across. We'll do CAD yen first, and then we'll go. All right. Oops, sorry. This is I was circling. Oh, one of the other things I told her too is I told her that I like the fact that we can put things on an upper time frame and it goes across to the lower time frame. That if they do multiple analysis, make sure that the charts are linked. Like if we can put a 4 hour and a 30-minute up there, make sure whatever I draw on the 4 hour shows up on the 30-minute. I was like, you better not slack. Make it the same thing. I don't know if she'll follow the rules or listen to me, but it didn't. If you use the lower level that we talked about before, that we said, and again, we tried to oversimplify this one. Had we just done the actual basing level, which again you can see over here, this is the level that really spent that time in. You got another trigger off of it. Okay, now again, it hit once. You should have used it. If you didn't, it just again, this told us that there are sellers in the entire area. You should hit it. And again, we're up a little bit over 1-to-1 risk reward ratio at this point. Again, it's a level of basing. It spent a lot of time there. So is it a beautiful level for it to pull to? Not really. I mean, but it did spend a lot of time here. Okay. I think it'll have a little bit of issue down here as well over at the 82.70. But again, eventual profit targets on this one. I'll move this down and we'll put a target here to the downside. So again, kind of a technical setup on this one. Had you guys traded it, I know some of you will look at this one. Some of them don't look at this one. Also curious what this will do from now till overnight. Ideally, I would like this to rally back up again and be in that zone when we do finally have the news release tomorrow morning. But I don't know if it's going to be able to get that much play back up to the upside. Downside, I mean, here's a level of basing. I'd probably say if we get below, I mean, again, anywhere in this area is probably good, but probably there. You guys see this red candle in here? I'd probably use that to do it. Again, actually, I just marked off the gap. So I drew it here and ended up marking the gap off over here. That's probably where I'd use, if we spike to the downside, look for a retracement back up again. Easy guess. Probably, I mean, it could have been earnest. I laid it out, man. I was like, hey, you told me I could, not candy code everything. I still think it's going to be, I still think based off of what I told her, I still think they're going to make it too busy. I literally think they have like a computer programmer that they said, I want all these things and put it in here. And I think they're literally trying to put everything that they said into this thing. It's kind of one of those situations where more is not better. And I think that's what they're going to do. So that's where I'll be looking for this one, guys, as far as news. Have this top, either of these two areas marked off, ready to go. Again, we are more towards the top, but either one would work for a spike. And then last but not least, let's look at the dollar yen. If I click on it, switches. So, dollar yen. We are in that upper end, right? We are in the first of the three areas. And in fact, you guys can see it actually did go up to the second one, right? When we came back through. This spike happened, what, around 7? Right? 7 o'clock this morning. And remember, we talked about this. So we only had a little bit of an area. We'd much rather it go a bit higher, right?
Here's where we are right now at the 19, and here was the 19 candle last night, right? Pulling back down again. And we said it's already been in there once. There's a little bit more that we could potentially grab. Let's see if we can get to there, but ultimately we'd like to go further. And it did. And had you shorted this one in the 109.50 range, again, you're in the short and you're up about 25 pips in this position now. And like I said, you kind of pulled back to where you would expect, right? Looking on the 30 minutes, you guys can see we spent a lot of time right around this red dotted line, right? Okay. So we did go up, we did get to the, again, it would be, let me extend these because it's kind of confusing on the lower time frames. There. So you guys can see we did hit it, again, we got the push back down again, went right back to the same basing level, and then it bounced and came all the way back up again. And again, top of this green, look to the left, that's where the start of this move is right here, right? Here, boom. So again, makes sense. Pushed down and came in a little bit lower. So again, we're eating up the orders to the downside here. This zone is still valid. I would say probably this blue is officially out because again, it's been hit here, it's been hit here, it's been pushed through here, it's gone higher. Now this second guitar string is what's in play. Okay, so this is still definitely valid. 109, basically 109.50. It's 109.48 to 109.63. This kind of like 15 pip range here. Not a bad little area whatsoever. Again, we had basically 12 hours of straight up, and now it's starting to retrace back down again. But there are, one speed bump here, another speed bump here before we get down to an eventual, what is this, 108.75? Yeah, 108.75 would be kind of a downside target for this one. Okay, something down in here. It's not exactly straight, like a ray that is straight. There we go. Got it. Again, that would be down in the start of this area. Okay. So, I'm going to leave that one there, but just kind of mark it as leave it like that. Okay. This one missed so much. All right, so there would have been your short. And again, not necessarily a big scare either. I don't think this one is talking about 14. They have, YouTube and video games and everything else. But I was like, one of the nice things that my students do like is the fact that on the IG platform, if I put in an alert, and I told her that they should set alerts. We should have the ability to put alerts for Nadex. But if we get alerts on Nadex and we put it on the desktop, that it should be able to alert us on our phone. And that's how we kind of got talking about the Nadex app. I was like, I don't use it, but I know people exit trades all the time on it. So I did bring that up. Like I said, I think it would be kind of cool, right? If we can get alerts inside of a Nadex platform, that would keep people from, using other platforms. And, it seems like it would be a good idea for them. We'll see whether or not they take my advice or not, but, give them quite a tall order of things that they should accomplish. Don't know if it's going to be the truth, but we'll see. Like I said, she said, yeah, we're working on some of these features already. I'm sure that's like, yeah, you're not getting any of this stuff. But we'll see. All right, guys, so that's the last one. So with that being said, for those of you with scanners, definitely drop them down during the day. 3 hour, 30-minute, 5-minute. Use that small one just so you don't have to look at the charts. You can just look at the scanner itself. I also recommend tomorrow night after the close or Saturday morning, go back and review your trades for the week. Make sure you mark off your gaps for your Sunday night gap plays. And yeah, that's it. Okay. We'll be back on this Monday night. Again, it'll be the Nadex presentation. I'll promise this time to put the sound on. I didn't realize that the sound was not on it in the Twitch stream, so I will make sure I put the sound on for the Twitch stream. I just have to hit a different button. But if not, if you don't want to catch it here, you guys can always catch it, from the Nadex broadcast. That's totally fine as well. All right. I recorded the last section today. I have to build the web page for it, but the parabolic class should be out this weekend. That's the goal, to have it out. I'm going to try to do a mentoring session with Sean on Sunday night at some point, and the goal is to have it out before I meet with him on Sunday night. So you guys can look for that one. If I get it out this weekend, there won't be an email. I'll just make a post about it if you guys want to go see it. I'll probably do like a big post or something next week on it, but you guys can have first access to it. And again, once it goes up, if anybody ends up getting it, please make sure you go through and let me know what errors that you guys see. I try to do as best as I can with editing, but again, a lot of times, I may miss one thing or something doesn't make sense or something doesn't click somewhere. So it's, again, because I'm always logged in, I go through automatically, and it helps when you guys are able to find those problems for me. All right. So that should be out next week. Look for it, and that's it. Go ahead and let's do the drawing real quick. Let me bring Streamlabs across. Okay. You guys, there's 14 of you guys on, only 8 inside of the drawing. So please make sure you do exclamation point ticket. You guys will have about, I don't know. I guess I have to give you guys a minute because yesterday you said I closed it down and picked a winner before you guys even heard me say it. Like you saw it on Stream Elements before you even heard me say I was going to shut it down. Vic is in with 2 tickets. Vic is trying to steal it tonight. Who else we got in here? Who's not here? I don't see Ryan. Ryan, did you make it here? Wealth Builder, you're in. Who else we got? Vic, Pattern Trader, he's in. Will, are you in here? Yeah, Will's in there too. We got a couple quiet people in the channel. All right, I'm going to close it down then. You guys are the ones that are looking for the pip chips. Had to make sure Ernest was there because I don't want that guy salted. You know how he gets, Also, make sure you guys all jump over and get in Discord and give Q a hard time. He hasn't been here in a week. I know he got busy, but you need to give it to him. When one of us doesn't show up, you need to make sure that you guys are calling him out on it. Get him back in here. Oh, also, I talked to Lou. Lou was really, really active. Lou actually got, just so you guys know, Lou has been trying, I guess for a while. He got accepted to the police academy, so he's been actually at the police academy. He's like, I'll be back in about a month and a half. So he's just trying to finish that out because he can't focus on both at the same time. But it's been something he's wanted to do for a long time. So I talked to him, and he's like, tell everybody I'll be back soon. Miss everybody, and I'm doing well. So I was happy for him. All right. So winner of the contest tonight is James. Uh-oh. Will, I need you to take care of the, wait, Will's here, right? Yeah, Will's here. Will, I need you to handle the meme tonight for James. Make sure it's a really good one. Or Ernest, you can do it too, I guess. Somebody get the meme out there. Get the meme going. Yeah, come on. I want to see a good meme of something James, because you know how he's always posting those memes. All right, let me go to where is that leaderboard? James is right there. And we'll give him his 25. There you go. You're good. He's creeping up on Will now, man. He's starting to get close. All right. So, with that being said, guys, I am out of here. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. I wonder who will be. You guys got to come on. Somebody's got to get a good meme in there for him. Come on. Come on. He laid it down on you guys. Make sure you give it back to him. All right, guys. I'm out of here. I'll catch you guys tomorrow, and I'll see you guys next week.